Well, life's so alright, controlling this crazy space.
Welcome back to Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. Before we get started, be sure to like and subscribe down below. Ring that little bell for notifications. Trying to put a bunch of stuff out here, because there's just a never-ending source of information for us to do. We've been around for a while, and I'd love to have your support as a growing channel. So today's show is about why is Gen X such an I don't care? Why don't we care? Okay, and there's a few reasons behind it, and I've heard an awful lot of the concept of the way we were raised and things like that, and how we were nobody paid attention to us, so we just had to do it on our own and stuff like that. And there's a certain level of that I think is accurate, but I think there's more to it than that. I think a lot of it has to do, we're just burnt out on caring about things anymore. Let's kind of go through a list. So what I did was I put together this list of things that have happened, disasters and epidemics and pandemics and everything that we've lived through as Gen Xers. Now, this one started out about 1970. I think my first one here was 1973 to 1975. The oil crisis, okay? Global fuel shortages, due to political conflicts is what they claimed. And, those of us who were adults, I was not, those who were adults and can remember the lines for the gas stations, just to be able to get enough fuel to go to work and back for a couple more days. In the 1980s, the HIV AIDS epidemic hit, and millions of people died from that. If you want to get a little political, just a little bit, the guy who was in charge of the whole COVID thing screwed that up too. So, personal opinion there, okay? He screwed up the AIDS thing bad. So then 1986, the Chernobyl disaster. Chernobyl has been out there in information for some time. This happened in 1986. In 2 more years, it will have been 40 years since Chernobyl happened. 38 years that place has been like that, and it's going to continue to be like that for thousands of years, as I understand it. In 1989, the Exxon Valdez oil spill. Now, if you don't remember this, this happened up in Alaska, and it was one of the biggest natural disasters of a tanker, oil tanker, in recorded history, and I think it's probably the worst that we've really seen since then. That whole thing that happened in the Gulf, a few years back, it was nowhere near as bad as this. That was actually very quickly contained comparatively. So 1990 to 91 was the Gulf War. I was in the Air Force during this, okay? That was quite the fun ride, let me tell you. 1992, the Los Angeles riots, social unrest triggered by the Rodney King verdict. They don't even mention the Rodney King getting his butt whooped by the police in LA and getting it filmed. And this is like 92, bear in mind. This is 92 when not a lot of people had cameras. Everybody has a camera now. Everybody has one. Back then, if you had a camera, it was like this big, probably weighed about 5 to 8 pounds. And it had a huge, VHS tape in, that you put into that darn thing. So that was so somebody happened to have that and catch that. But, the fact that the police officers were found not guilty. And so there was some serious rioting happening down there in LA. 1994 Northridge earthquake, and this is a huge earthquake, hit Southern California during the World Series, and we're talking, the bridges. There were bridges, they were double-decker bridges, overpasses. So you had traffic here, and you had traffic directly underneath it, and there were places where it dropped on top of the other one. It was crazy. Actually, Stanley Thermos actually, after days in there, actually still had hot coffee. That was crazy too. 1995, the Oklahoma City bombing. If you don't remember that, there was a guy, he used a truck, a high cube truck, a cube van, and a whole bunch of fertilizer and stuff like that he put together into a bomb and took out the IRS building in Oklahoma City. huge deal. 168 people died on that. The 1999 Columbine High School shooting. It was probably one of the biggest high school shootings ever. At this point in time, and it's and since then it's there's been other school shootings, and we don't want any of those. Okay, we don't want them, but at the same time, this was the first one in 1999. Okay, the .com bubble bursting. Okay, in 2000. So all of the tech stocks had been going up and up and up and up, and they were just getting traded left and right, and just growing in value, and they crashed. Took all these people who really had become very wealthy and brought them right back down to our own level. Okay. So 2001, September 11th. Okay, 9/11 happened in 2001. So that was 23 years ago, almost. And we just celebrated. We just marked that day, and that was a huge deal. Thousands of people died in an instant. Okay, 2002, 2003, SARS epidemic. Okay, severe acute respiratory syndrome spread globally from Asia. Okay, now I want you to remember, we not too long ago had COVID. That was a form of form of SARS. Okay, 2004, the Indian Ocean tsunami, a devastating tsunami killing hundreds of thousands in Southeast Asia. This was actually a really big deal because it really impacted high population areas along the coastlines in India and the surrounding islands. Big deal. 2005, Hurricane Katrina, George Bush's debacle. I mean, you can only blame him so much on that. Let's face it. The leadership in New Orleans really messed up their whole plan. And FEMA screwed everything up, and so we put it on George Bush, and so he was in charge, so he's in fault. 2007, 2008, global financial crisis. Remember this myself. There was a huge economic downturn. During this time was when gas first hit like that $4-5 a gallon. And at this point in time, incomes were like half of what they are now. 2007, 2008, and gas prices were way up here. A bunch of people, really what it was a housing downturn. All this, they had all these adjustable rate mortgages. They've been, funneling, mortgages to people who really couldn't afford them, putting people in houses who, honestly, they didn't have they didn't have a proven track record of paying bills. They didn't have, any down payments, and, they put them in these adjustable rate mortgages where the rates were low. And then all of a sudden, with an adjustable rate mortgage, when things go up, all of a sudden you're starting to pay more and more and more, and it doesn't take long, and you're paying hundreds, if not $1,000 plus more a month on your mortgage. And that's what really killed that. All these people went what they call underwater on their homes. I remember this. I knew people who bought just before this hit, and that was pretty bad. I had a sister who was underwater on a house that she actually took a little loss. She rented it out, her and her husband, and they lost a couple $100 every single month between what they were paying and what they were getting in rent. But they were able to ride it out, and they were fortunate, at least to that extent. 2009, another pandemic. This was the H1N1 flu pandemic. They called it the swine flu. I knew people who died from this. It was not a good thing. If you had health issues, just like we dealt with COVID, and everything else. If you had health issues, this was taking you out. And I knew a couple of people that died from that. 2010, the Haiti earthquake, a devastating earthquake causing widespread destruction and loss of life in Haiti. Tohoku, 2011, Tohoku earthquake and tsunami. This is also what led to the Fukushima disaster. Remember Fukushima? It had a meltdown. It had all this incredible tsunami came in and damaged that. And so that was like one of that was another nuclear crisis. Some people, and I don't research these things well enough to tell you but I've heard that there's still residual radiation coming across the Pacific Ocean from that happening. 2014-2016 Ebola epidemic, an outbreak in West Africa leading to thousands of deaths. And there was a little bit of that possibility here in the United States. It became a political football, because it was during the 2014 and 2016 election. This is, and hey, I kind of fell for that a little bit myself. So that was one of those things, and it was another epidemic. So 2020, COVID-19. We dealt with that. A global pandemic caused by the SARS-CoV-2 virus, resulting in widespread blah, 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 blah. Most of us remember that. So 2020 to 2021, middle of the COVID, George Floyd protests. Okay? No matter where you stand on it, it was a huge deal. 2022 to 2023, I'm not sure how this one made it, because they call it about the monkeypox outbreak. They're trying to bring up another outbreak. So my point is, this is the list of things that we as Generation X have lived through. So when we're sitting there like, it kind of makes sense. We've been through all of this already. Guess what? We're still here. We haven't left. It's hard to believe how much, seeing that list is 22 different things. And the last one, whatever. I mean, they're trying to call that one an outbreak. And again, those of us who are Gen X are like, COVID, a lot of us, we're kind of like, we were careful. We didn't want, we're getting old enough. We don't want to catch the flu. This was is actually kind of funny. I told my son, my Gen Z son, about how, it's really just kind of a really bad flu. And, it's COVID is. And it's like, well, yes and no. Okay, it actually is something specifically not flu. But the other aspect of it was, bear in mind, the flu does kill people. It had flu-like symptoms, and it was very, it was deadly. It did kill people. So I'm not making light of it, but it really was. It was. But I mean, if you look at all the things we've been through as Gen Xers, it's no wonder we have a laissez-faire attitude about a lot of these things. Look at all this stuff. Holy cow. We've lived through all of this. And you know what I don't see on here in this list? Actually, this is an incomplete list. What about the Challenger? Remember when the Challenger went? What about Mount St. Helens? Mount St. Helens blowing. Okay, and we're under a constant threat of Yellowstone, super caldera blowing and taking out half of the world. We hid from for nuclear war. We were told to get under our desk. What good was that gonna do? But that's what they told us to do. I mean, it's like, okay, well, and to me, that's actually similar to the masking up, if you ask me. We got underneath the desk because it gave us something to feel like we had some control over things. And it was just one of those things. But you go all the way back here, to all these different things. You look at these things that happened over the past 40, 50 years, 60 years for some of us. I only went back to 73, and I missed a few things, because as I thought about it, hey, what about this? What about that? As I'm going through the list with you, this is crazy stuff, and we grew up with this. Is it any wonder that we have a laissez-faire, cavalier attitude about, the next horrible thing that's going to happen in the world? It's going to take a few of us out. Okay, if another big illness comes around, we're Gen X. We're in our 50s. All right, it's going to take out a few of us at least. But we're kind of getting to that point where a lot of life is taking more than it gives these days. Take what you can. If you have grandkids, take that. If you happen to have a late life child, take that by all means. But anyway, so if you like what we're doing here, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Share with your friends. Get the word out. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot is here, and we really like to have your input on these things. So without further ado, have a great day. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot out.